Well, welcome, weary traveler. Take a look around. We're standing right in the middle of the ruins of the old, crumbling temple, a place where ancient myths used to live, long since bulldozed to make way for the cold, gleaming steel of modern efficiency. I'm going to be your guide through this explainer today. Think of me as, well, a cynical, weary dragon who's watched your kind stumble through the dark for centuries. Today, we're diving into the grim architecture of the shadow and the collective void that honestly, you're all currently drowning in. The truth of your condition is quite a bit darker than you realize. But maybe, if you listen closely, you might just find a way out of the abyss. Let's get into it.
Here's the harsh truth you need to hear right off the bat. You do not seek truth, traveler. You seek a target. I've watched you build this perfectly efficient, technologically flawless new world, and yet you wander through it haunted by this strange malaise. You're spiritually famished, literally starving in a land of plenty. You walk around claiming to be looking for answers, for justice, for truth. But really, what you're actually searching for is a place, or more likely, a person, to absorb the sheer agony of your own emptiness.
So this disease of yours actually has a name. It's called the psychic vacuum. See, when you dismantled the old temples and those ancient myths just vanished, you didn't suddenly become enlightened gods. You just lost your compass. You created this gaping abyss of unmediated suffering. Because without a symbolic framework to understand your pain, your very self undergoes a profound, agonizing fragmentation. You're adrift. You're consumed by an unbearable internal void that all your modern efficiency simply cannot fill.
Section 1. Forging the Golden Mask.
Just behold the state of the last man. This is you. This is your village. Sure, you're absolute masters of your machines, technologically perfect in every way, and yet you're completely broken and adrift. You are spiritually famished and internally rotting because you've been entirely disconnected from your archetypal roots. You've got all the comforts in the world at your fingertips, but you're just hollowing out from the inside.
And because that internal rot is just too horrifying to look at, what do? You build the golden mask. It's this highly polished social persona. You forge it to hide what philosophers call the ugliest man. You know, that pathetic, shameful, fearful creature lurking deep down within your own heart. It takes an absolutely exhausting amount of polish to convince everyone around you that you aren't rotting inside, doesn't it? You wear these masks to hide your deep internal shame and this profound psychological dissociation from the world.
You are literally caught in a trap of your own design. On one side, you have the golden mask, flawless, socially acceptable, always smiling. But on the other side, the ugliest man, your hidden shame and internal rot. By constantly forcing your dark nature behind this rigid facade, you end up creating a highly pressurized internal discord. It's a psychological dissociation so intense that it's constantly screaming for an external outlet. And the pressure builds, traveler. Believe me, it always builds.
Section 2. The Hollow Collective Shadow.
Now witness the regressive defense mechanism in full action. When the terror of your own emptiness finally becomes too much to bear, you don't look inward. No, you run. Terrified individuals flee their own anxiety and just merge with the collective mob. The progression is always the same. You go from the internal void to forging the mask, to merging with the collective shadow, and finally to the tribal scream. You eagerly trade the heavy burden of individual consciousness for the warm, unthinking embrace of the herd.
You rally behind the false idols of the state, enthusiastically waving political banners and chanting slogans. And why? Because it offers a hollow sense of belonging. It is so much easier to march in a crowd than to sit down and do the agonizing work of genuine psychological growth. You use these ideologies as a sort of communal scaffolding to hold up your collapsing identities, entirely sacrificing your individual spirit just to feel safe in the dark.
But securing that hollow belonging demands a tragic sacrifice. You trade your unique human personality, which, let's face it, is messy, chaotic, and requires deep individual courage, for a sacrifice to the state. You accept mechanical obedience and stagnant projection instead. You voluntarily surrender your unique spirit just to become another cog in the machinery of collective outrage.
Section 3. The Mirror of Justice.
Behold the mirror of justice. The funny thing about the mob is that it never actually admits it's a mob. No, they project their own internal darkness onto their neighbors and call it a moral necessity. Oh, the beautiful shining virtue of the crowd. It's really nothing but a deceptive facade. It uses the very concept of virtue merely as a shroud for your own resentment and legal revenge.
You use the social persona of the righteous crowd to justify your cruelty and tribalistic aggression, pretending you're cleansing the world when in reality, you're just running from your own dirt.
The judge and the criminal are bound by the same shadow. Now, this is the cynical truth you absolutely refuse to see. This tribal warfare of yours is never, ever a pursuit of truth. It's a desperate, pathetic attempt to strike at the enemy within by destroying the enemy without. You punish the criminal because you see your own hidden ugliest man reflected right there in his eyes.
You rely entirely on the structured mind, rigid, ideological, and completely propped up by external scaffolding. You have essentially become bridges that broke. You're completely severed from the great reason, which is the primal, chaotic, deeper wisdom of your own bodies. You think your perfect rationality is going to save you, but it's really just trapping you in an endless cycle of stagnant projection.
Section 4. Into the Wilderness.
So, I'm asking you now, and I want you to answer honestly. Will you strike your neighbor, traveler, or face the rot within? To break this vicious cycle, you have to abandon the false communal scaffolding of the righteous mob. You have to step away from the banners and the screaming crowds and step right into the terrifying unknown.
You must wander into the wilderness and finally stop attacking the world. You have to face me. You must confront the dragon of your own inner chaos. That shadow you've been running from, the ugliest man you've buried deep under your golden mask, you are going to have to look it in the eye without flinching.
Section 5. Alchemy of the Self. Right here is where we find the secret to true resilience. Psychological alchemy. It's the painful, deeply necessary, and courageous act of turning poison into fuel. You stop projecting, you stop hiding. You take the rot, the shame, and the absolute darkness of your own shadow, and you integrate it. You own it. You transform that deadly poison into the very fuel for your own authentic existence. Look, it isn't easy, but it's literally the only way out of the void.
By dismantling the false scaffolding, throwing away that golden mask, and facing the dragon, you reclaim yourself from the psychic vacuum. You're no longer drifting. You become the sole architect of your own meaning. You don't need a crumbling temple, and you certainly don't need a political banner to tell you who you are anymore. Hear this final truth. The true age of the hero is not found in rebuilding those old, crumbling temples, nor is it found in the cold steel of your modern utopias. It is found in the courageous, solitary reclamation of the individual soul. The heroic ideal is standing completely alone in the dark, knowing your own monsters intimately, and refusing to unleash them on your neighbor.
This explainer ends here, but your journey? It's really just beginning. The abyss is waiting, traveler. So, which mask will you drop today? I'm going to leave you alone in the dark now, to reflect on your own hidden shame, your own pressurized discord, and the choices that lie ahead of you. The wilderness is vast, and the dragon is waiting. Choose wisely.